Bookish friends. My name is Brianna, and I am doing this video in order to finally introduce myself to you all and to give you an insight into what you can expect to see on this channel going forward. So I'll start with a few details about me. I am in my 30s. I am a former 9-to-5 employee. And when I realized that life wasn't for me, I decided I wanted to pursue art and things that I am more passionate about. One of my passions includes reading. I'm an avid reader. As you can see, this is one of my bookshelves behind me now. And I have been collecting a physical library since high school, I believe. Another fact about me is that my favorite TV show, and probably the thing responsible for 99.98% of my personality, is the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It is my all-time favorite. I rewatch it religiously. It's my comfort show, and given the chance to talk about it with anyone, especially those around me, know that I could talk forever. Lastly, I am a writer and aspiring author, so those are some things that you'll see come up regularly on this channel. The types of videos that you can expect will have to do with my travel. So you've probably already seen a couple of those. If you haven't, they are posted if you just want to give them a look and see what that looks like. I do like to travel. I like to see different parts of the world, and sometimes I just like to go on little day trips to try something new or to get out of the house. Because I am such an avid reader, I'm pretty active on Bookstagram. I almost forgot the name, and I don't have TikTok anymore, but previously Book Talk. That was a lot of fun. And so some of the content you'll see here are bookish related. I could do reviews, just give my opinions on things that I've read, give recommendations, take recommendations. I'm always open to new recommendations on things to read. The genres that I mostly enjoy have to do with fantasy, supernatural, horror, mythology, things along those lines. I do also like romance, but I always like there to be at least some kind of supernatural or mythological aspect. Not only do I enjoy reading, but I like all kinds of media. So I watch a lot of TV. As I previously mentioned, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have the full DVD set along with Angel. I watch a lot of movies, and so those are all things that I consume and I like to talk about and share with you all, because I hope that you like and would like to talk about those things as well. This also goes for music. I really enjoy listening to music, and my genre or the types of music I like is pretty broad. So anything along those lines will probably come up in my discussions here on this platform. I also plan to document my writing journey and my current progress in my novel that hopefully will debut one day. I was an English major and received an MA in creative writing, so I want to finally put that degree to use. My only hope is to create a community with similar interests to me, to get to know you guys, to get to share a bit about myself, and because I've always liked the concept of video diaries and vlogging, just to have a record of the things that I'm consuming and sharing and enjoying and finding my passion again here in video form. That being said, I now want to do my July wrap up. Essentially, each month I hope to share with you what I've read for the month, what I've watched for the month, and highlight the things that I especially enjoyed. Unfortunately, this month I only finished 2 books. The first book that I read in July was Our Vicious Descent by Haley Dennings. This is the second book in a duology, so it is the last one. This novel is based in 1920s Harlem, and it focuses on 2 characters, Layla and Elise. Layla is a vampire, and Elise comes from a family of vampire hunters. And in this second novel, we essentially get to see them work together in order to attempt to bring together humans and reapers. Okay, pause really briefly because of the background noise, but we are back. This was pretty good. I did rate it a 3 out of 5, I believe, just because I felt like there wasn't enough planning potentially in what to do with these characters. So, spoiler, You can skip this part if you don't want to hear. They are just killed off. But I think that the characters and the story had a lot more potential. It could have even gone on to a third novel. Um, and there was more that could have been done with this world, which is why I rated it a 3 out of 5, though I do enjoy the writing and the concept overall. Anyways, the second book that I read for the month of July is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and I enjoyed this one a lot. I think I rated it 4.5 out of 5. And if you would like to see more of my reviews for books that I have read in 2024, 2025, and now through 2026, you can follow me on Fable. I also post reviews on my Instagram, but for more details of my thoughts, you'll probably want to visit Fable rather than Instagram. I really enjoyed this book, and I don't know if this is necessarily a spoiler, but what I like the most is that just from the cover of The Knight and the Moth, most people, like myself, would assume that the knight is the male lead of the story and the moth is the female lead of the story. So I was reading it wondering, when does this female main character become the moth? When does she have that transformation? And she doesn't. She actually becomes the knight, which I thought was really cool. And the moth is the villain of the story. So this was great. I will be reading the second book. I hear it's coming out in September, I believe. So I'm really excited to follow up with the story and how it continues in The Knave and the Moon. This will be really exciting. There are also quite a few movies that I was able to watch for the very first time this month, one of them being The Last Unicorn. And honestly, I put off watching this movie because from discussions that I've seen online, I thought that it had a sad ending, and I will watch movies that make me cry, but I was really nervous to have a cartoon targeted towards children have a sad ending because I thought that might just break me. But I did watch it, and I watched it with my niece. We watched the whole thing through. Sometimes, because she also does not like movies with sad endings, we will watch the first 10-15 minutes, skip to the end, watch the end, and make sure that the good triumphs over the evil, and then we'll go back and watch the whole thing through. So we did that to make sure that the unicorn doesn't die in the end, which is also a spoiler. Sorry about that if you haven't watched it by now. It is a pretty old movie, and it was great. It was fun. I was glad I got to experience that with her. Another movie that I watched was The House on Haunted Hill. It has a decent sized cast. The final girls are Taye Diggs and the actress from the first Final Destination. I can't remember her name at this time, but I might put it, excuse me, that was actually a burp. But I might put it on the screen in case I look her up later. The movie was good. I liked the concept. I believe it is a remake because the version that I'm speaking of now was done in 1999. And I think there is an older version. I did like that there were two final girls. I know Taye Diggs isn't a girl, but I found that very interesting, especially because they do play with the stereotype at the beginning that the black person always dies first. And so you think he does die at the beginning, but it turns out to just be an illusion of a ghost playing a trick on the main character, whose name I can't remember. And he ends up living all the way to the end. So I thought that was great. Another movie that I watched is called Even If This Love Disappears from the World Tonight. I did have to write it down because it's long. So I just read that. But it is I watched the Korean remake, but it is based off of a Japanese novel. It's a romance between two high schoolers where the boy has a heart condition, so he doesn't know how long he has left to live, and the girl has brain damage, which results in memory loss. So she essentially resets every day on the same day that she had an accident that resulted in her brain damage. I would not recommend this movie for people who don't like sad endings. It is a sad but also hopeful ending, I would say, so a little bit bittersweet. It is sad. I cried a lot, but that does leave room for some hope, which was really nice. My least favorite movie out of all the ones that I watched this month was called The Threesome. And I watched it because it has Zoe Dutch, and I really enjoy her as an actress. So whenever I see her in anything, I usually go ahead and watch it. But for this movie in particular, I did not like any of the characters. There were parts and moments between the characters that were a bit likable, but otherwise, I found them mostly insufferable and not likable. So I wouldn't recommend the threesome to anyone, unfortunately. My favorite movie that I watched for the month of July is called Honey Don't. It is starring Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza, and I thought it was super enjoyable. I watched it just kind of because I've scrolled past it a couple of times on Netflix and thought, oh, that's interesting, but not interesting enough to like sit down and focus on it. So I finally decided let's do it because every time I scroll past it, I'm like, oh, maybe. And so I turned that maybe into a yes, watched it, enjoyed it a bunch. The concept of the movie, or a synopsis, if you will, is a PI whose clients start dying off, or people connected to her clients in some way. At one point, Billy Eichner is in the movie and he's worried that his boyfriend's cheating on him, and then later his boyfriend dies, so she never even gets to investigate it. And one of her clients dies, so she never gets to investigate what they're looking into. She ends up getting tangled up in this kind of conspiracy of her small town and doesn't really get any help from the local police, and has to do all this investigating on herself and figuring out why these people are dying. And it was super fun, super enjoyable, little bit suspenseful, but not too much, and I liked it overall. This month was very slow for me in terms of writing. I actually only got to write 3 pages of my novel for this month, so I do hope to increase that significantly next month and find more time to focus and sit down and work on my writing, and probably find some place isolated from home that will allow me to focus more. So that's all for the media that I consumed in July. However, there's still a bunch of things coming up that I'm looking forward to in August. I already have a book lined up for the start of August, since today is August 1st. So my current read, this is my book bag that I use to carry around whatever novel I'm currently reading with me, and it was a gift from a friend, and it's purple because that's my favorite color. Our first read of August will be Forged by Blood, and this is by Igbor Okosun. It is the first book, and it is also going to be a duology, so I'm really excited. I think I've only gotten like 5 pages in so far. The synopsis reads: in the midst of a tyrannical regime and political invasion, Demi just wants to survive, to avoid the suspicion of the non-magical Ajes who occupy her ancestral homeland of Ife. To escape King Sorensen's brutal genocide of her people, the darker-skinned, magic-wielding Aluso, and to live peacefully with her secretive mother while learning to control the terrifying blood magic that is her birthright. And I've always found blood magic fascinating, one of the best powers and terrifying powers. So that's the first book that I'm going to be starting off with in August, and I hope to complete more than just 2 novels this month. Another thing that I'm looking forward to is the movie Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma will be releasing this month. I don't know what theaters it's in, but if it's releasing somewhere nearby, I hope to go and see that. That'll be really interesting. It has Gillian Anderson and Hannah Einbinder. I hope. I hope that that's her. And so I'm just really excited to see what is going to happen. It's essentially about an actress who was part of a horror franchise and the real horror behind the making of the movie, and whether or not the villain or the little death evil is real, and if it's come off the screen into the real world and haunting the actress of the original movie. Lastly, my writing goal for this month is to complete at least 20 pages of writing compared to the 3 pages that I finished in July, and I will be documenting that as best as I can in order to, one, motivate myself and to garner a bit of discipline, but also just to see my progress and my efforts towards completing this novel. If you are curious about that, I will be doing another video later on the premise of the novel and why I choose to write in the genre that I write. ways that I write, and just what kind of worlds are interesting to me and why I want to bring them to life. Thank you so much for watching and enduring. I know there's been a lot of noises in the background, and I'm still learning this mode of content creation and just experimenting with what I enjoy and what works for me and learning all these different tools. It's clumsy, but it has been so much fun, and I look forward to getting better, to learning more, and to discussing more with you all. Thank you for watching.